The final days of the Buddha's life have long been shrouded in mystery and intrigue, particularly the circumstances surrounding his death. According to ancient accounts, the Buddha's passing was precipitated by a meal shared with a blacksmith named Kunda, a meal that would become the subject of centuries of debate. Some texts suggest that the food served to the Buddha was tainted, possibly poisonous, leading many to wonder, was this a tragic accident, a metaphor, or something more sinister? To unravel this mystery, we must delve into the heart of Buddhist teachings, exploring the principle of nonviolence, the role of controversial sutras, and how these ancient events are interpreted in the modern world. At the core of Buddhism lies the principle of ahimsa, non-violence. This concept is not merely the absence of physical harm, but an active commitment to compassion, respect, and care for all living beings. For the Buddha and his followers, ahimsa was not only an ethical guideline, but a foundational pillar, influencing every aspect of monastic life and spiritual practice. The stories and teachings attributed to the Buddha emphasize loving kindness, peaceful resolution of conflict, and the cultivation of inner harmony. Yet, this unwavering commitment to nonviolence is complicated by certain passages in Buddhist texts that seem to reference, or even condone, acts of violence. Throughout the vast canon of Buddhist literature, there are sutras and stories that challenge the simplistic view of Buddhism as an entirely pacifist tradition. Some texts, for example, recount tales of kings and warriors who engage in battle, or even narratives where violence is presented as a means to a higher, compassionate end. The Mahayana scripture known as the Upaya Kausalya Sutra tells the story of a bodhisattva who, to prevent the mass murder of fellow travelers, kills a would-be murderer, an act justified by the motivation to save many lives and spare the perpetrator from future suffering. Such stories have sparked controversy and debate, raising important questions. Are these tales to be taken literally, or do they serve a deeper, allegorical purpose? Scholars have long debated the literal versus metaphorical interpretations of violence in Buddhist texts. Some argue that these stories are not endorsements of physical harm, but rather parables illustrating the complexities of ethical decision-making. Others contend that the presence of violence in the canon reflects the realities of the societies in which Buddhism emerged, times when war and conflict were part of everyday life. In the case of the Buddha's death, the narrative of the poisoned meal can be read in several ways. Was it a straightforward account of foodborne illness, a cautionary tale about the impermanence of life, or perhaps a metaphor for the inevitable suffering that comes with existence? Modern perspectives on these ancient controversies are as varied as the traditions of Buddhism themselves. Some contemporary Buddhists maintain a strict interpretation of ahimsa, rejecting any form of violence as incompatible with the Buddha's teachings. Others seek to reconcile the more troubling passages by emphasizing context, intention, and the transformative potential of difficult choices. The story of the Buddha's final meal is often viewed through the lens of symbolism, highlighting the inevitability of death and the importance of mindful, compassionate living. Ultimately, the mystery of the Buddha's death and the presence of violence in Buddhist texts invite us to reflect on the broader questions of morality, interpretation, and the human condition. The teachings of the Buddha continue to inspire, challenge, and guide, reminding us that the path to enlightenment is not always straightforward, and that the quest for understanding is itself a vital part of the journey.